Willie, it's great to speak to you as always. I mean, first things first, you've had a few days to reflect on it now. How would you assess the defeat to Salford?
Yeah, obviously, as I said after the game, it was in terms of our performance, it wasn't. Yeah, it was probably our worst performance of the year, if I'm being honest. We did things that weren't what we've been doing for the year. It was a performance that I suppose from the fan watching it, myself watching it, we just you've never felt comfortable from how we've played, and then obviously speaking of the players who are the most important. In this, they said that after the game. We just didn't get any real flow about us. But the positive, I suppose, is that we were, Salford's a very good team. The scoreline sort of indicated that was closer, I think, than probably what it was, even though we're in a position to win the game in the last sort of 7 or 8 minutes. I don't think we haven't had any true flow about the game at all.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things, like you said, it was a bit uncharacteristic, wasn't it? The errors and a bit of ill discipline sneaking in there. I think the areas are easy to point out and probably eradicate this week in training.
Yeah, no, naturally, it's the discipline's probably the part for me. I think the errors, it's an individual thing that they got to get right, but we don't want to focus too much on errors. But there's no doubt that hurt us. It was more the discipline. It was more, in the second half there, the two penalties or three penalties in yardage that hurt you. They do take its toll because you've got a team in a position where you want them, and then that sort of changes the momentum of games, and that's where I suppose the most disappointing part was, and then little things that happen in the game there with our poor discipline. So that's an area that we need to fix up. There's no doubt about that for this weekend.
A bit of good news, though, to come from the match review panel. Obviously, Dean Hadley copped a fine, but he'll be free for you. I think that's a big bonus in it going to Catalan, because when you go to Perpignan, you need players like Dean to kind of carry the torch.
Yeah, we had a little win with that, but then Dean's not 100% yet ready to go. We've got to wait for later on the week. He's got a bit of a wrist issue. So we'll wait and see later on the week where he's at.
Right, well, let's go on injuries then. First of all, that was James Batchelor.
Yeah, not good news with James. So obviously he got released from hospital up in Newcastle, and then he still felt some tingles in his down his neck. Gemma, who's our team doctor, has done an outstanding job with him. Sent him to Hull Hospital here, who have been marvellous. So he was in there for a few days. And they've just released him. He was actually in training. He came training today to say good day to the guys, say hi to the fellas. But he's going to be in a neck brace now for possibly the next sort of 8 weeks, and then they'll look to see after that, when he's returned to plays. But the most important thing for Batch now is just to get that neck sorted in terms of he's got a little bit of sort of pins and needles in his arm, but that's going, which is the main thing. Obviously not an ideal situation for anyone involved. His partner, obviously, Kira, who saw it and was with him at the time, and his family who would have seen it as well. So, but as I said, really, really, I just want to say thanks to our doctor, Gemma, who's looked after him, and especially as well the whole hospital here.
From a playing point of view, obviously his health comes first, and we'll wish him all the best. But on the field, whoever steps up has got big shoes to fill, because he's probably been one of, if not one of the best forwards for you this year, and it'll be a big miss, won't he?
Absolutely, he will. Our whole sort of philosophy, the way we want to play, is around competing and effort, and he drives that every week, along with Dean Hadley and guys like that. So whoever comes in, we're looking at this week as opportunity. We are down in troops, and we'll go into some other ones in a second, but it's an opportunity for some guys to step up. So they've been waiting for their chance, and this week's about some opportunity for those guys, and for us to go over there and put in a performance that we're proud of again.
Jesse Sue, obviously left with a hamstring. Is there any update on him?
Yeah, so Jess is going to be out for 16 weeks. He'll be having an operation this week. So it's another major setback for Jess and for the club. But again, it gives opportunity to someone else. But not good news for Jesse.
No, and Lachlan Coote, how's he doing? Obviously another failed IHI. How's he in himself personally as well?
Yeah, he's good, mate. He's in good spirits. But again, it's another one. We're not sure when Lachlan will come back and play. And again, his health comes first. It's similar to Batch, but obviously with Cootie, he's had a few there now. So For him, it's just making sure that that his head's in a good space, because you never want to see anyone go down, but obviously seeing the amount of times that Cootie's gone down, it's not nice for his family or the team or himself, obviously.
No, that's 3 hammer blows, isn't it? From you on a personal note, this must be one of the most difficult weeks you've had then, losing 3 key players like that. It's been a tough one, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I mean, obviously the game, it's one of those where, we didn't perform as well as what we've liked, or as we have in the past. And then to lose those guys, and I said before, possibly Dean Hadley, he's got to get through this week as well. So there's potentially 4 that you're not going to have from a game that we weren't, proud of in terms of our performance. But all we can do now is, as I said, this week's about opportunity. This week's about, connecting again as a group, and giving some guys an opportunity that have been wanting it. They've been banging my door down, which is what you want from players, to show that they're keen and they've got the belief in themselves. And that's where we're at. So, for me as a coach, I know how the season works. We did have some challenges early on in the year. We got through that. I was hoping that we'd got through that, and now we can get a bit of cohesion again, because we had players out, and obviously some key players out. Jordan Abdul will return this week, so he's a key in for us. But then you lose another 4, so it's part of the game, unfortunately. My job and the staff's job is to keep getting these guys coming in, enjoying themselves at work. You still work hard, and continue to improve every day. If we do that and we go back to the whole KR way, then we'll be okay.
Yeah, really good news about Jordan Abdul. Obviously, there'll be a bit of a shift in the span again. Do you expect maybe Jack Walker a possible debut in France?
Yeah, definitely. Jack's trained well with us, so it's going to take Jack a while to get used to the speed and the pace and of our training, and then obviously in the Super League level again. But again, opportunity, mate. Someone like Jack, who's been there, he's played at the Super League level before. He's won grand finals. Obviously had his, he's had some injury setbacks along the way. And Jack's ongoing, in terms of we need to keep managing his body. Obviously Bradford's done that as well. So, we can't be too rushed in terms of what Jack's going to deliver on the field, but from what I've seen at training so far, he's fitted in extremely well with the players. We've got a really tight group here, and he's fitted in well so far.
Yeah, and on to Catalans, the fixture itself. Obviously, you've been there earlier in the year. This is going to be more of a long-term approach, going a few days before that. Are you looking forward to that? Because I know I was on the flight with you in March, and it was a bit of a rushed affair, wasn't it, with the delays and stuff like that. So you're looking forward to getting over there, training a little bit, and not being as rushed?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we couldn't do that in early on in the year. It wasn't doable in terms of the logistics of it all. So we had to go in and go out on that day. And a lot of teams have done that. And it's a tough ask. And that was another day that was tough in terms of, we had the HIAs, we had 3, and then obviously Mikey went back on. So we lost players that day. But that was the day for me that we sort of turned our season back around again. We won our first 2 and then lost 3 on the bounce. And what we did to hang in there against a very good Catalans team, that game for me, as I said in the past, could have got out to a high number for any other team, but we hung in there. And then we went on that good run. We've had a couple of narrow losses. We got beaten on the weekend, by a good Salford team, but we weren't happy with our performance, and we can put our hands up there. But so what we're looking for now, mate, is to go over to France, connect, because we're big on that. Get away for a couple of days, enjoy each other's company, and then put in a performance that we're proud of again.
Yeah, and obviously on Catalan itself, I know you don't like to go into the opposition too much, but they've been brilliant, haven't they, this season? And people talk about Craven Park as a fortress. Equally, the Stade Gilbert Brutis, they like to play at home, don't they? A bit of a hostile crowd, but probably a challenge that all the lads are thoroughly looking forward to having a go at.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's, at the moment, what I've seen, obviously we've got to go to St. Helens and Wigan. We haven't been over there yet, but it's no doubt one of the toughest challenges in the calendar. There's no doubt about that, and we've had to do it twice, and we're doing it again this weekend. But as I say, it brings opportunity. They're a very good team. There's no doubt about that. They had their setbacks at the start of the year, and a good team is when your sort of key players are out and you're still performing at a high level. That's what they did, and they've brought the likes of Mitchell Pearce back and Tompkins back, and guys like Tyrone May were on the bench. Arthur Morg's in career best form from what I've seen of him. They've got some good outside backs, obviously Johnston and Arthur Romano and guys like that. So, I've just rattled off a number of players that are key to their team, and not to mention their forwards who are driving force in them as well. So it's a really good challenge for us. It's an opportunity, and that's what we're speaking about. In our team meetings, and we will be up until game day. It's an opportunity for us to go over there and put in a performance again that we're proud of, and that usually takes you to a decent place, and that's where we are. That's our aim this weekend.
And of course, you mentioned connecting. You'll be backed by plenty of red and white supporters making the trip over. How big's that, especially in a different country, away from home, a hostile crowd? They'll probably make the loudest noise, won't they? And there'll be a big difference as always.
Always, yeah, always. I walked out on the weekend, and I think that was probably the most disappointing part, that we haven't had too many games that we haven't been proud of this year, and I'm sure the fans, they forgive you, if you're not at that level, certain games, but we owe them again this week, the ones that are going over there to put in a decent performance. And I know it's not always about, and I've said this before, like we could have won that game on the weekend and we still wouldn't have been happy with our performance. This week's about going over and performing well. We want to win this game. We're aiming to go win the game, but we want a performance that we're proud of. We want a performance that the fans are proud of, because we've got a block coming up. We're back at home the week after, or the next 2 weeks. So to go on the road again is a good opportunity for, as I said, the players and the staff to connect and get even tighter for the back end of the year, which is going to be big for us.
Perfect. And finally, mate, before I pass you on, obviously the injuries are creeping up, unfortunately. Have you been looking into a low market or looking at players immediately? I know it's not, panic stations just yet and you've got plenty of depth, but is that something you maybe consider in the next few weeks?
Absolutely. Yeah, we will have to. As I said, we've got some players that are in doubt this week, and so it's something that we may have to do for sure. Our goal this year is to obviously go as far as what we can, and then we want to put out the best team possible that we can each week. So if that's going out to market to look at some players to come in, we'll definitely do that. But obviously, mate, we need we've got some long-term injuries now. We don't know how long Lachlan's going to be out for. We know how long Jess is going to be. It's 16 weeks. Batch is going to be 8 to 10, but that's only at this stage. It could be longer, hopefully could be shorter, but at this stage, we can't even be thinking about him playing rugby. It's about getting him, his health right first and getting him back. And then we've got other little niggles as well. So it's a position that ideally you don't want to be in, but it's the game. It's rugby league, and it's you just got to keep pushing through. But we'll certainly look at the market to see what's out there at some stage if we need to.
Perfect. Thanks, mate. I'll see you in France over the weekend.
Cheers, Joe.
Hey, Willie. How are you doing?
Hey, James. Good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. Just on Lachlan, how's he doing mentally? Because he was in a pretty bad place, wasn't he, last year with concussions?
Yeah, mate. He's obviously you keep getting head knock, and you get enough head knocks. It's it'll knock you around a little bit. So he's in a decent space at the moment, but he's not he's not silly. He's been through this many times now. So it's at this stage, mate, we just need to make sure he's mentally right. Obviously, he's going through the right channels at the moment to through specialists and our doctor and things like that. But mate, he's not too bad considering the amount of sort of knocks he's had.
Yeah, given he was pushed so close to retirement during that period, has there been any talk at all of retiring early to prevent further damage?
Oh, look, it's something at the moment. I've just said to him, because we played obviously on the weekend, he needs to just sit back and take a breath and just make sure that all these symptoms that he's symptom free first, and then we'll definitely be looking at all options, or he'll be looking at all options, because at the end of the day, his health comes first. So he needs to tell us, he needs to tell himself, he needs to tell his partner, yep, I'm okay to keep going, and I'm in a good space, and I can keep going. But also, mate, as you know, like he's obviously aware as well. He's a father, he's a husband, and he's got many years to live a great life. So he needs to put that first as well. So there's no doubt that he's the more knocks that he's had, he's got to obviously sit down and look through things a lot more thoroughly in terms of where he goes going forward. But that'll happen, as I say, mate, that'll happen in time, not just yet.
Yeah, and because he has had so many head knocks, in terms of his time frame for his return, we take a bit longer this time than you probably would with anyone else.
Yeah, so at the moment, as I say, I don't even know exactly how long it is because I'm not even looking at when he's looking to play again. So, yeah, to answer your question, he needs the right amount of time, and that's going to be the question: what is the right amount of time? Is it a number because it's a number, or is it a genuine? Okay, he needs this amount of time off, or does he look at it and go, is it worth pushing on? Can I do further damage? So, as I say, all those things will, Lachlan will. And obviously myself, we'll have a talk about that. But he needs to make sure that he's feeling good enough first in the space to go right. Okay, so let's put it all on the table. What pros and cons about playing, pros and cons about not playing, and then make a decision around that. So yeah, it's something that he'll have to sit down and go through because his health comes first. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. And just in terms of your fallback options, obviously Jack Walker this week, but he's cup tied next week. I know you've got a lot on your plate this week, but have you tried people in training this week just to get ready for next week?
Well, yeah, we've had Corey Hall there. So he was there in the past. I know he was there on the weekend briefly, obviously when Cootie went down, and Mikey played there the other week. So there's no doubt Mikey could do a job there as well.
Yeah, just on the 3-quarter line, there's been some debate about whether you can have Sean Kennedy-Dowell and Corey Hall in the same team in that 3-quarter line. What's your assessment of their performances in recent weeks?
Yeah, so obviously, so when Corey came in, so we were never going to rush Corey. Corey came in against St. Helens and played extremely well. And then, so we kept him in the centres, and it was we always wanted to try and move Skids back to the centres, which we tried and put Corey on the wing. Probably didn't turn out as well as sort of what we wanted. So we moved it back. We've been defending extremely well when Skids, because Skids has obviously played there for many, many years. So he's he was the choice in terms of an out and out winger. But we certainly want to put Skids in and start to get some cohesion now with what we're going to do with our wing and centre. But as I say, it was going fine. We've been winning plenty of games or going narrow, just falling short. So Corey Hall's game on the weekend, he knows it wasn't the level that he wants to be at. But I mean, as a kid, like the last couple of weeks, naturally as a 20-year-old player, and this is where I'm massive on development, huge on development. Like we can't just go, right, he's out the window and then his career can go downhill from there. So for me, Corey was always going to be a player that's going to, we've signed longer term with the club. We're obviously getting some other players in next year. He's going to need to fight for his position this year, and he's going to have to do the same next year. But there's no doubt you're going to see a better version of Corey in the next couple of years. That's for sure. It's not so much now, and he's also going to have games like he did on the weekend. Like if you have a look at Mikey Lewis, for example. So Mikey at the start of the year, potentially, argue should have been probably dropped from a couple of his performances, and he's aware of that. But we stick with him because he's a 20-year-old kid who is going to be the future of this club. So for us, it was around just tweaking a few different things, and then we've gone on a run, of strong performances, and a lot of that would come down to Mikey. So you need to go through and try different things at times. But I understand, obviously fans and people are going to have their opinions as well. But we've got to look at the bigger picture. Now it's about, okay, so what's going to be our best combination, and that's what we'll sort of look at going forward.
Do you think that's worth persisting with then? Canada on the right wing and Corey Hall left centre.
No, we'll move Skidsy back.
Right,
so as I said, we want to try different things. But Skids, he's at the moment he's we've hopefully got a few more games, but certainly he's in our top centre at the moment. But he potentially could play wing as well. There's no doubt about that. But this weekend, for example, so we're not going to have Tom Opachig. He's not playing, so Corey's going to get an opportunity to play. So Tom's gone back to Australia for some family reasons, which sees young boy, which we knew about, and it's much needed time for Tom. But that's only for a week. But it gives an opportunity for Corey again. So our centers, I can share with you will be Corey and Skids, and then we'll build off the back of that, depending on their performance this week.
Good stuff. Thanks, Willie.
Cheers.
Appreciate that. All the best Saturday.
Thanks, James.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Hi, Willie. How are you doing?
Sorry, Sam. How are you, mate?
No, that was Callum.
Who is it? Sorry.
This is Callum.
Hey, Callum. How are you, mate? Sorry.
Yeah, good. Thank you, mate. I know you didn't get the result you wanted at the Magic Weekend, but what was the experience like for your first time?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. It was great to get back to Newcastle. I played at Gateshead many years ago. It's a great city up there in Newcastle. The atmosphere was good, mate. But to be honest, obviously our performance wasn't great. So I think our fans, like when I went out in the field, I thought, oh wow, this is going to be a huge occasion. But probably didn't get our fans into the game enough. I know we're thereabouts. But in terms of the spectacle, the occasion itself, really enjoyed it. Something that I hope stays. I suppose results always determine how enjoyable the day was, and we didn't get the result.
And you have been linked with a move for Castleford's Nia Levels in recent weeks. Have you got any comment on that at all?
Yeah, so we definitely have interest, Niall, that's for sure. So nothing's been done as yet, but we're looking to strengthen our spine next year. Obviously, Niall can play on the wing as well. So I think during this period, one thing I do know is you need to have strong depth in your spine. So it doesn't matter who's playing number one, that you've got an option, a genuine option as a backup as well to play in your fullbacks and your hookers. And so at the moment, I've obviously got 2 9s. We need to keep developing a third one, and then next year, Peter Hickory's come to the club. Obviously we're looking at him at fullback, but he can play certain positions, and that was the reason to get him. So he can play wing, he can play centre, he can play 5'8", and then we are looking at another option. So whether that is Niall who can play fullback, we know extremely well. He's played at wing for Salford. If it's not him, then we'll be looking at someone else for that as well. So the key is to strengthen and get more speed in and around those sort of areas. If we can, and that's Oliver Gildart. That's the reason why we bought him as well.
Cheers, Willie. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Hey, Willie, you all right?
Hey, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
All right.
Yeah, I was wondering, how's Rowan Mills doing? Is he back in contention this week or next week?
Nah, so hopefully next week. So he's still got the cast on, and he'll be one more week. So back for the cup and contention for the cup, yeah.
Okay, so I was just wondering if there was a chance that if Rowan comes back, then could Mikey slot in at fullback if Jack Walker's taking that time to adapt? I mean, I know that James mentioned that slightly, but is there a chance that you see Mikey as the fullback option whilst Laughlin's sort of processing whatever he's processing with his HIA?
Yeah, definitely. So Jack can't play next week, so. The options that we've got, so obviously Phoenix is there, but then we've got Corey Hoare and we've got Mikey Lewis. So as I say, for me, again, Phoenix is a young player, and I'm big on development, so I don't want to throw players in too early, and obviously players need to earn, do the work in reserves and challenge in the the championship. I just lost my thought then. When players do get opportunities in the championship. So, and I think that's where Fee's at the moment. So, then we've got Corey Hoare who can play there. We've got, and Mikey can certainly play there as well. So there's no doubt, mate. Yeah, it might, to answer your question, Mikey could play fullback. And I think he'd do a really good job. I think, potentially Mikey would be a good fullback, but he's also a very good 6.
And one thing just on Phoenix as well, I can't remember if it's been mentioned in the past couple of weeks, but obviously you ended the dual reg with Keithley. Is there a chance that he either goes back there or that you look at another option for him in the championship, or is he too important as a backup role at the moment with Ethan and Lachlan out?
No, definitely. That'd be the plan. So at the moment, mate, we can't. So we were actually going to do something with Fee this week, but we can't. So he's going to come to he's coming to France with us, and obviously possibility of playing. So with Fee, mate, he needs to go out and play championship, I believe. Obviously, we need to still work on over here. Our game needs to work and making the reserve grade as strong as possible. Players always say about the reserve grade and have some feedback to us coaches about it. My response to that is, you always play what's in front of you. If the reserve grade is, if that's your level, that's where you're playing, then go out and play the best you can in that. And then for me, the next tier at the moment would be the championship, which, for me, over in the NRL, you'd have the under-20s if you're still available, Jersey Flegg, and then you go into the reserve grade competition, and then you go into the first grade. So for me at the moment, our reserve grade's probably, if you're a 20-year-old, is equivalent to the Jersey Flegg over there. So it's about playing well in that. Then it's about going to the reserve grade, which is at the moment it's our championship, and doing well in that. And then once you're playing against men and you're excelling in that, then be ready to play Super League. So I'm pretty, our players know and younger players know my sort of mindset and philosophy around developing them in that way. Because as I said before, you can put players in and play in Super League, and they can get judged pretty quickly, and then performance is not great, lose their belief, lose their confidence. But I'm big on developing them slowly, and when they're ready to go, then they get their 10 to 12 years. That's one thing that I pride myself on from learning over in the NRL, being involved in the development programs over there. And then, hopefully down the track, we can get this reserve grade to the level it needs to be at, playing every week. And then it'll help players, those 20-year-old players that can play in that competition, because that's the next best level of competition. That's what I hope can happen.
And is that sort of youth development something that you see as maybe not necessarily like the strength, but something you're focused on? Because obviously you've got, Jack Walker, granted he's still only 23, but he has played in a grand final before. But you've also signed AJ Wallace from the Championship, so you're looking at that sort of pool of players, and obviously with the view to develop them. So, how long a view is that? Will they be sort of permanent features next year, or is it the year after you're looking at?
Oh, look, see, for someone like AJ Wallace, and this is a good question, because I think it's important that that people are aware. Just because AJ Wallace has never been in a professional environment, a full-time environment. So when he comes into a full-time environment, the demands go up a lot in terms of day-to-day training, the demands, the intensity you train at, the amount of times you do your weights, the amount of wrestle you do, or contact sessions you do. So there's some high demand. Some players handle that, and then they can, they obviously have a really good spike, which you aim, and that's what Phoenix did this year. Phoenix had a really good pre-season, got rewarded with a 2-year contract, and then for someone like Fee, it's not about what he does now. It's developing him to get another contract, and we'll see the best of him in a few years' time. So someone like AJ, the fans thinking that he's going to come straight in, he may come in and put him, have a pre-season that puts him, in the top 2-3 back rowers in the team. But that's not an expectation from us. That's not where I see him. I see him at the moment developing, playing a few games next year, or as many as he can, but then developing him slowly. So again, just because someone's in a full-time environment, it doesn't mean that then straight away they're going to go into playing. Yeah, it's really important, I think, that we manage and develop young players accordingly, because you don't want to have the players that come in, as I say, and then they get spat out and they go play. Championship's a great level and it's a strong competition, but it's not the elite level where someone like a Phoenix or an AJ Wallace and guys like that want to play. This is the problem with our reserve grade, because we don't have a competition that you're playing every week. So then they want to go, if they're not getting picked. Naturally, some players want to be in the first team, but if they're not ready for that, they need to show that they're ready in another competition. That needs to be the reserve grade. If not, then I'll always, which I've done this year, is send players out to championship teams so they play in a really strong competition. So that's my thoughts on it. I just, as I say, I hope we can get that reserve grade sorted, because that's got to be that next level for guys like Phoenix and AJ and people like that.
Yeah, and just final question on that as well, because I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But with the reserve grade, do you have any sort of say, or have you had any sort of contact with the RFL over the reserve grade, and how or how would you improve the game? Obviously, with IMG coming in and stuff, because it is like you say, it's a necessary step between the division below and also Super League. So how would you either improve it yourself, or have you had contacts in regard to doing that?
Oh no, I haven't personally. I think obviously through the coaches meetings and things like that. So my opinion is like, and it has since I've sort of seen our youth and reserve grade sort of systems. We need to be playing every week. They need to be playing every week. So there's a couple of things there. Like, firstly, welfare. Like, these players get paid to play. So if teams say forfeit or some teams put out, obviously some younger kids and the scores get blown out or whatever. Firstly, they don't play. So from a wellness, welfare point of view, like, players want to play. So if they're not getting picked and then they don't play, then therefore their minds start to wander, and they can do other things, and they're not fully engaged in their job because they're not playing, so sometimes they might not play for a few weeks for different things. Game gets called off, they're forfeited or whatever it may be. So my big thing is, why don't we play every week? Academy, the same thing. It should be, playing every week. That's how you develop. That's the only difference, or major difference in the NRL, is these guys are playing every single week. So I understand that we don't have, football's our number one game over here. I get all that. I know there's differences around that, but there's no reason why we can't, put more focus into the reserve grade, where the players then take it serious to have, the right officials at the game, in terms of medical staff, in terms of, everything that we need to supply to ensure that game is taken serious by the players. And it's every week. That's my thoughts on it. But I get it, because when we're in positions now where, for me, this is just my thoughts, is you have the best or the players that aren't playing in the first team, and then you have the best academy kids and they play in the reserve grade. But I just think that the young guys, they should be playing every week for their own well-being, as I say, because it's what they do, it's what they love, but it's for the development, which then is going to help the product down the track. You're going to have players that are ready to go and developed. And as I said, mate, like, I can only mention guys in our team at the moment, but a guy like Phoenix and who's a part of a full-time squad, they want to play first grade because they're part of a full-time squad, but they need to then obviously play the next level down. And if that next level down is not taken as serious as what it needs to be, then players will always have an excuse. And I think about, and I'm sure every other coach will talk about, it's more around, I suppose, the welfare of the player, because all they want to do is play. I had a senior player, a guy that's played a number of games, talked to me yesterday. He says, if I'm not in the team, he says, I just want to play. And I get that. So I've got this guy out and helped him before in terms of getting him on loan and things like that, so he can play, because that's what they want to do. And I want them to as well, because that's the best way to develop. So we just need to keep thinking about how we can develop the players, how we can get them playing as regularly as possible, because at the end of the day, that's what they get paid to do.